Hey, it's Mike Byrnes with another recording of Business Bests. I am just trying to help you be more successful, and hopefully it's working. In the last recording that I did was about kind of the overview or the state of the world with AI, kind of gave a little bit of a sense of the stages and where we are and why that is. Today, I really want to get to a little bit more of the business case for using it and give you some examples of how to dive in. I could do a deeper dive video on a whole bunch of specifics because this is going to be the hottest topic. It's going to revolutionize everything. But I do want to start with this thought that this revolution, whatever you want to call it, I talked about earlier in the last video, ripple effect and how it's going to just continue to spread over the whole wide world, and it's going to be more of a tidal wave as opposed to a little ripple. I'll use a different analogy now as the cat's out of the bag. So whether you like these trends or not, it's not up to you whether they continue. And in some ways, I don't know if humans are smart enough to stop this at some point, and that's a whole nother scary conversation to have. But it's happening, and there are benefits that you can take advantage of all these things. And so today's session is about how to make your business more successful using AI, and I'll give you some simple examples. Before AI, as a consultant, Byrnes Consulting, I go work with my clients, and I would talk all the time with them, whether they're executives or business owners or professionals, financial advisors, right? Whatever their role was, I would ask a very simple question. Do you feel like you're spread too thin? And almost always, those categories of people are too busy, right? And I would go to say that probably 98% of the human race, if you ask that question, are you too busy or do you need more time in your day? They would all say yes. And so that was before AI. Now you bring about AI, and it's a solution for that. So if I'm making up a number that 98% of people struggle with having more time in their day, AI can help, and it can help in so many ways, like countless. We're just scratching the surface of what it can do for us. So today's recording is all about that. The real exciting one is, do you have an idea? So I don't want you to quit your job just yet, or maybe you are unemployed and this is where you need to go, but do you have an idea? The solo entrepreneur idea is, or you want to call it a solopreneur. I don't know if you've heard that lingo before, but you are now in a world where you can run a business using AI and not have to hire people. Like, it is amazing what the capabilities of this is going to be. And you'll see that it's so much easier for one person to run $1 million business and maybe someday $1 billion business, right? So how do you start to use these resources and take all those tasks that humans did, where it's not just outsourcing things, they're actually part of your team, like they're internal, and you're using all these AI tools, and eventually they're all being orchestrated so that you can run a company just with one person. So what is that idea? I would beg you to stop next time you have it and write it on a piece of paper. Type it in, that's okay, but you can kind of lose it in your computer. But if you can type it on a piece of paper, tack it somewhere that you have to see it, tape it to the refrigerator, put it on your computer screen, whatever it is, that business idea can have a lot of legs now. And that's the exciting thing about AI. So you come up with that idea, AI can help you create a business case even for it too, and let you know what competitors are out there, can help you in the very early stages of your business to generate enough steam to kind of push you and get you going. Where we're just starting on this topic from the recording standpoint, I kind of want to do a 101. And one thing that you really need to know is how to prompt, basically providing AI enough information to get back what you want. So the old put garbage in, you get garbage out, that makes a lot of sense, right? So that would apply to if you hired a copywriter and you just gave them this amount of information, and you can't expect the copywriter to write what you want, right? You're gonna have to give them as much information as possible. So prompting is really popular. Believe it or not, when I started speaking all over the country on AI, Forbes had said that the most highly paid job right out of college was a prompt engineer. And I remember reading that. I'm like, prompt engineer? I've never even come across a company that had that title. And now I would imagine it might be called different things, but that's going to be a very popular position within organizations that have a big enough IT team. So they have enough technology resources to hire somebody like that. So prompting is super important. You could go probably have a whole full training on just how to prompt. So the more information you can put in that's clear and concise, the better it is. You'll start to see that AI will evolve. And you're starting to see that you can put more into it. It's not as constrained so much as what you upload. And the future versions of things like ChatGPT will now start to get to know you. It'll have a memory about what you've tried to answer before. It'll get a sense of who you are, and then it'll personalize. And that's the future where we're going with this. And so the more information you can put in, not just benefits you in this one request that you have, but it's going to help with future requests too. The next one is to put in context and constraints. So you might want to say, hey, do a summary on this white paper, specifically to this white paper. Where AI used to hallucinate was it wouldn't listen to your prompts, or it would go off a little bit, and maybe it would do a whole summary of everything it's finding on the internet and give you some great output, but you had specifically said, I just want it from this white paper or this piece that I'm giving. So that's the concise part. And context, I think all of this stuff is, you can have preferences of what you want to see. So I want you to summarize this book and give me all the content that is relevant to someone that is trying to advance their career, right? And so then it has a focus of what to do. So summarize the book, but actually you're tailoring it to something. So you're giving it some context. And I think that is really important. The last part is not necessarily the last part. I'll explain that in a second. But the third part, I should say, is to have a desired format. So I want to have something that is a 200-word summary with 5 bullet points or a top 10 list of specifically what are the best ideas from this whole big research paper that I want you to review. And it'll go do that, right? And now it's getting really good at delivering what you want. It doesn't necessarily have to be in text either. You're eventually going to have coding you could have. We talked about that. That's not my expertise. But you could have images. So it could create something that might be just a cool picture. Or it might be infographic. So it takes words and puts the pictures to kind of get together, and they kind of look really cool. It could be a PowerPoint slide, and you need to take someone through a diagram, and it could create something like that. Videos, obviously, really cool future there, and audio too. So all kinds of ways to have that desired format. So that should be part of what you're prompting. And then, like I said, there's kind of that fourth stage. It's revisions, and you're going to always be refining. So especially now, where I don't know who coined this term, but we're looking at the worst version of AI we've ever seen. Like, that is going to continue to be said because it's going to evolve so fast. We're like, wow, that last version was so primitive. Like, so it's just going to get better and better and better. But for right now, it might not spit out exactly what you're looking for. So layer in prompts after the fact to get it to be what you want. I can give you an example. I spoke on AI to hundreds of people just recently, and in preparation, I created a slide, and I gave it all the bullet points of what I wanted. And the reason I remember it was because it was on prompts. And it had a bunch of things that went through what I was trying to discuss, and it missed the first one. And the other one of these other things was a little off. So one at a time, I said, can you correct that piece? And it would do it, and then it would hopefully do everything I wanted. It wasn't getting some of the things that I wanted. It's not quite there. So there's other tools that you can use to be more refined, some that you have to pay for. But it's not going to get you exactly what you want right now, but eventually it will. And the other thing I would say, counter to kind of prompting logic, is you might want to say, hey, put in these 5 things about how to write for my brand, right? But the reality is, if you just say, can you write this like a witty copywriter would do for a magazine? And now it's been educated by so many other different sources about what a copywriter does for a magazine and writing in that style. So now you've kind of said, hey, write like that, but make it witty. So maybe it's a little funny, take some jabs. And so just that kind of simple prompt that refers to probably 100,000 other prompts that other people already put into AI, you can take advantage of that. So that might be one thing that you want to consider with prompting, is maybe don't be too over specific, because if you can have like a category that AI already knows, leverage that. The other one I would say is do not limit AI. So where we believe we're creative, we have a vision for something, it is very possible that AI can create something better than we're even thinking about. So maybe do a couple cracks at putting this in for whatever you're looking for. Use different types of AI tools to see what they come up with, and then maybe go back, start over again with specific prompts, and let that that first crack of what AI does influence your creativity. I've heard speakers say AI is going to damage all creativity, and I do think we're lazy in nature, human beings. We kind of take the easy way out, and if we don't have to think, some of us are not going to want to think. So be careful, but I like to think about it as a little bit more advanced. Like, so you're not the, imagine if you headed up a whole marketing agency, you're trying to create an image, and you have some junior people working on it. You would then influence their output. You'd give them direction, and then they come up with versions, and then you'd actually help them come up with something better. So now don't think of yourself necessarily as that junior marketing associate. Think about yourself more as the director of marketing, and use AI to get you to where you want to be. One thing that is not there, like a lot of business people aren't talking about it if it's just your generic business speaker or consultant, is that you have to integrate AI into everything right now. There's a book called AI First, Humans Always. And I thought that author did a pretty good job of discussing it. Specific quotes: deeply integrating AI into the fabric of your organization decision-making process. Like that is something that I believe AI can be really inserted in kind of like every aspect of what you do. Try it, right, and see what happens. The risk of it, I guess there's a risk of secrets getting out or privacy issues or whatever. But the reality is, like, if there isn't that type of risk and you can kind of control the environment you're in, you're starting to now brainstorm from the very beginning, or you're doing analysis of what you're doing, or coming up with different ways to have workflows or operational efficiencies, or, hey, looking at those results and saying, here, how could we pivot or redefine things or make them better? So having that AI first mentality is super important. I actually typed up another quote from that chapter. Integrate AI deeply, not just at the surface, to accelerate innovation and set the pace of change. The reason I like that one is that I think when AI is first used, it's just going to be scratching the surface, right? Like, we're just going to barely use this. But what we have to realize is that these ecosystems, these whole industries, are going to be completely flipped on their heads, right? They're going to be turned over. It's going to be devastating to some businesses and some careers, but it's going to create some other new ones. So change is a big piece of that, right? So the reason I love that quote, innovation, set the pace of change, is that if you use AI, you can actually start to push yourself out of the normal way that we've always thought of things, and come up with some other solutions, other ideas that maybe we as humans just were trained by humans, and we haven't actually kind of broken out of that box that we're kind of cornered ourselves in. So as a consultant, if I was working with you, I would say, okay, get a piece of paper and write, where do you want to be helped? and get a whiteboard, and consultants love whiteboards, right? And just start saying, hey, here's all the areas where we can improve. It takes some self-awareness. You have to be honest with yourself and your business to write some of these things down. Other times it's you don't know what you don't know, right? So AI then is the solution to those things, right? But you have to be self-aware to know where you can insert AI into the success of your organization. So from a consulting standpoint, I would love to know everything as a human being consultant, to know every single thing that you need help with. The more in-depth those things are and the longer the list is, the longer the consulting engagement can be, the more ways I can help you. That's fantastic, right? So now imagine AI involved and it's moving at a faster pace, right? It doesn't sleep. Some of these answers that might take a consultant like me, not to talk myself out of being a consultant in the future, but there's going to be a risk, right? Like, so you're going to have to find how do you move all these things through, and how do you do it in a fast and a quick manner? AI is going to be the solution for that. I'll give you one example. So I go to a lot of conferences as a speaker, and I'll listen to a lot of the keynotes. Some are better than others. But when you get those successful people, you're kind of curious. They get asked a lot, like, how'd you become so successful? And so many of them say they read a lot of books and a lot of biographies, right? And so earlier I said, everyone's too busy. I am the same way. I'll get all kinds of books. I'll read the first chapter. At some point, I fizzle off, right? And maybe I have some version of ADD. I think we all do, but I just don't have the patience to get through a whole book. And so, writers, they want it to look this size, right? If it's a hard copy, if you still read a hard copy book. And so they put some fluff in there. Copywriters have always done that. Book writers, authors of books have always done that too. So AI can be an awesome tool. Like I'm sorry, I'm telling you a little bit too much about myself. In high school, I loved Cliff Notes, right? That was gold to me. I like to say it was gold, but it was really yellow. If you remember the yellow and black books, if you're too young, you might not even know what those were, but it was kind of like a way to cheat. You could get a summary of a book, and it would tell you some really interesting information. But it was kind of stagnant, right? It wasn't something that you could customize. So when I give you this answer, like if you want to be smarter and you realize that you don't have time to read these books to advance your career or make you smarter at what you do, use AI to summarize them. So there's hundreds of books out there, and there'll be even more books because now AI can help authors write books faster, or can just write the book itself. But so many books will be out there. So if you want to kind of get the best ideas and you kind of want to cut out the fluff, AI can summarize it for you. So a real simple way to start. And remember, I talked kind of about the pie chart of usages for ChatGPT. That general research was number one. Then you had the academic research. And this is where reading a book is just going from research, finding an answer, to getting a little bit more academic. The next phase for AI is to start to get into that, you're in the constant education phase, you're summarizing, but now you want to do deep research. And so what you're trying to think about is how do you take these 5 books or 10 books or 100 books and gather them all together. How long would that take you? Take me forever, right? Because I said I stall out on certain books. But it takes all those, so you could have summaries on all of them, but maybe something better is to say, hey, where do all of these authors of these books agree, and where do they disagree? And give me the top 10 reasons they agree and the top 10 they disagree. And oh, by the way, AI, what's your opinion on these 10? Which one's better? What are they missing? What did they forget to discuss in these white papers? Overall recommendation, how do we move forward on this? Like, wow, you've actually just started to think like a professor, right? You're starting to get into that academic world. You're going deep, deep, deep into a topic. So forget about being a professor unless that's your career. But if you're a business person, how do you use that the very same way to be better at what you do? And how do you keep that constant state of learning? like I said, AI is going to revolutionize things, and it's going to happen super fast, and we're never going to be prepared for the rate of change that's going to happen. So the way to stay up on that, if you can't digest all this information as fast as you need to, is to use AI to, one, summarize, and then step two would be to kind of do the deep research and the synthesizing. So synthesizing is, again, where you take all that information and don't just do a summary, but start to compare it, pull it together, give thoughts on why one approach is better than the other, and all these different sources, et cetera. I'll talk more about the context window and other kind of things in the future. What that basically means is, right now you might not be able to upload a whole book, or you probably can't upload 50 books. So there will be some solutions to that in the short term. The long term will be that AI will just be able to take as much as you can put in, or it's already all in there. One of the limitations of AI is it's learning off a certain date. So anything that's relatively new, you will have to populate and put into AI so it can be part of its processing. Before we get off the topic of learning and education for yourself, please write on a piece of paper. I'm big on pieces of paper because I think you can hold yourself accountable. Write down an honest answer. Be honest with yourself. You're the only one looking at this. How much time have you dedicated in the last week or last month, if you want to make that the term, to learn about AI? And if the number is 0, panic. If the number is 1 hour, I think you're way underestimating this. I would make it actually like an hour a week that you kind of keep up with AI. So if you believe what I'm saying, that AI is going to revolutionize everything, you have to dedicate time. It has to be part of your ongoing education. You have to learn at will. And that's the nice thing about being a consultant. I don't want to be a permanent student, right? There were kids that I got my MBA at Boston College, and then there were kids that just kind of, go to be a PhD and just like never want to leave the classroom. What I realized is that I don't have to learn in that setting, but I can learn, I have to as a consultant, I have to stay one step ahead, if not more, of the people I'm working with, right? So you're like that. If you want to be successful in the future, AI is going to revolutionize everything. How much time are you spending on that? So please do that little white paper exercise and make sure that some of those books that you're summarizing, comprehending and synthesizing and all those kind of words that I was just mentioning, how do you get the deep learning going for AI specific to how you would use it and how it would make you more successful? And then the consultant in me would say, track the hours, set a goal, make this, if you're the head of a business, make this part of your culture, and actually pivot where your business will go in the future and shape how you want to communicate this to your employees, set the culture. We talked about business planning before. AI should be part of your business planning in the future. And how is that going to revolutionize where you go and where the puck's going, so to speak. And then think about, as a consultant, again, how are you going to keep yourself accountable? We get too busy, right? And this is something new. Those new things sometimes fall off. I don't want you to go off on some wild tangent that ruins your business, but I want you to think about everything's going to change, so you have to be ahead of the curve to be successful. If you're the last one to make the change, you're likely at risk of going out of business. I hope that's not the case, but think of all the people that have gone out of business. I always like to say, back in the day, the person that did the maps was like, I'll be doing maps forever. And then GPS came and totally wiped them out, right? So what are you doing right now? Can it be revolutionary? Can it be replaced by AI? As a consultant, I'm like, people always want to work with me, but the reality is at some point, AI will probably do what I do better. Even speaking, there'll be a likeness of me or someone better looking, more charismatic, doesn't do all the word mess ups that I do. And you'd be learning from an avatar that's better, looks like a human. You're completely making a connection with someone even better than me. So be aware that change is happening and spend some time to make sure that you're going to at least try to keep up with where things are going. Next best case is generative AI, Gen AI, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to use industry jargon, or AI jargon, I should say, but it's about generating, right? And so it is fantastic at creating text, images, videos, audio. I think I might have said coding, like all these things that you like maybe thought were like impossible. Like, how can I tell a computer to create an image for exactly what I want? I can tell you in doing PowerPoint slides now for my presentations, I can actually go, I used to go to like free sites for free images, and I could spend hours, like hours of creating the right picture for my slides. I don't like to have death by PowerPoint where you have all words and bullets, so I just would like to have a title and an image, and then I would speak to that. I spent hours trying to find what I would want. Now, that has saved me so much time, and guess what? Not only does it save me time, but my pages are way more impactful. The other thing too is I can't be sued. One time I put an image on my website, I found it, I thought it was royalty free, and then I had a really well-known imaging company come after me and want thousands of dollars and threaten to take me to court. And I was like, I swear I found that for free on the website. So now, generative AI, Gen AI is going to take all that risk away, right? And get what we want faster, maybe even get us something better than we even could think of. We talked about that in the prompt area. If you kind of let it go on its own and come up with things, it might come up with something that you hadn't even thought about before. And so I think you're still going to waste a little bit of time with that final part of prompting is the revision and kind of trying to get it to be perfect to how you want it. But that will be even better in the future too. So how are you creating things? Think about all the stuff that you do right now. When do you create something? Figure out if AI can be inserted to help you be more successful at it. One other thing to be aware of is what's holding you back. I've come up with a list of things that I've seen over the years. Privacy. In the first AI video I did, said I'm not a compliance person. Regulation, that's another thing that's holding people back. They might not have the in-house expertise. This is new, like, how are we going to work on AI? We don't have an AI expert. Well, guess what? All these other companies didn't have AI experts, right? Expense, there are times where you're going to have to pay for AI services, and that'll be kind of the fare that, a lot of these things are free, and then eventually they morph into services that you have to pay a lot of money for. Integration, so you have data or information in different places, or you already have existing technologies, like how do you integrate all that stuff? There's an ethical component to it too. I think AI could be biased, or and that is just humans are biased, right? So we're putting the inputs. It's taking all the information that we put in, and at least as a start, and it kind of coming up with some output based on that. So it could lean one way or the other. So I've heard that that's holding people back. And then employee resistance will be one that is slow to grow. Like, as people lose jobs and it becomes more newsworthy, I think there'll be a movement against AI. I don't think it's quite there yet, but you will see some resistance. If you created a company-wide, let's say you have a company of 500 people and you create an AI committee, how to make improvements, some people might not want to participate. They might want to share ideas because they think they're going to lose their job. So of all those ideas, the one that I kind of think is the one that is fun to tackle, and it's usually compliance and regulatory and privacy, or it is that second category, don't have in-house expertise. The way that it's phrased is we don't know where to start. And that's where you don't have the expertise. You don't even have it at the leadership level. And again, if you think about, in the last recording I did, I talked about the usage is way skewed to younger people. Well, the leaders or organizations are older, right? So it's going to take a little while for that stuff to get to where it needs to go. You will see that executives, owners, heads of companies will start to see all these great results, and they will start to learn on their own because of that, if they want to keep up. But I don't know where to start is not a good answer. Again, you got to be in the constant state of learning. Change is coming, whether you like it or not. You have to figure out where to start. Number one way I would say to start is think about AI as an assistant, whether it's a an assistant at work or a personal assistant in your own life, and think about starting to educate it about yourself, what you do, what you're trying to accomplish, and brainstorm with it. Start to come up with ideas, let it sit, come back, dive a little deeper, go deeper into the rabbit hole, etc. As you start to use it as an assistant, you'll see all kinds of things from an operational efficiency standpoint. You'll see, from a consulting standpoint, with operational efficiency, a lot of things I would do is gather everything that goes into something, and then create a checklist, maybe then procedures, maybe that's a workflow, and then maybe it goes into your CRM, your contact management system, and the technology takes you through it. All of that stuff, upload and say, hey, AI, could this be improved? Or am I missing something? Or give me some efficiencies. I have a bottleneck at this point, etc. All of a sudden, you're going to start to see like you can streamline things, and you'll start to see from an operational efficiency standpoint, you're going to be way better. Look at it from a cost-saving standpoint too. How can AI help? And that goes into the second category, I would say, is think about the human capital piece of it. For many companies, unless you have like a lot of heavy equipment or buildings or something, for a lot of services businesses, and that's what I work with, human capital, hiring people is the most expensive or one of the most expensive things, right? So now you're starting to realize that AI can do some of that human's job. So do you have 10 people that all do the same thing? Well, all of them now could be saved 20% of their day. And so if you do the math, that's 1 or 2 employees that you don't need anymore, right? So you put that workload on the other people. And so that's going to kind of be that negative riff that will go against AI. But you're going to start to see savings in the human capital piece, or you shift that human capital piece to be more of a pyramid. So I said, like, now the person's not going to think about themselves as a marketing 101 person, but more of a director of marketing type. And you're going to have to use AI to get them to understand how to get there. Sometimes you're going to have this issue with trying to get people to think like senior people as opposed to like that junior person that you would hire right out of school. So that's category 2. So number 1 is operational efficiency and that type of stuff. Number 2 is human capital. And the third one is growth. How can you grow better? And there's all kinds of ways to think about how to be more successful. I'll make that a focus of one of my future videos because I'm running out of time. But I'm super psyched to be with you. My name is Mike Byrnes, and this is another episode of Business Bests. Thank you very much.